Peter just brought all the stuff.
Recording in progress.
About this.
Kathy's getting,
I think I gave it to Kathy.
Kathy's getting it from, she had put it in recycling, she's getting it back.
I'm okay with the way this is written.
I think this is what we decided.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, it's
I should have picked it up as I walked in.
for the boat part.
This is the boat part. I mean, the seafood part. There we go.
Personally caught resident.
That's exactly what we discussed. Okay.
I'm just going to start. Good evening and welcome to the August 6th, 2025 Yarmouth Planning Board meeting. I am Joanne Crowley, Chair. The public is welcome to attend our meeting in person or via alternative public access provided on the Town of Yarmouth website. Our meetings are generally held on Wednesdays, the first and third of the month, but additional meetings are sometimes needed. But today is a regularly scheduled meeting. I'll begin by taking roll call. Susan Britta.
Here.
Deirdre Gaquin.
Here.
Will Rubenstein.
I'm here.
Welcome, Will. Jim Saban. Peter Slovak.
Here.
Ken Smith.
Here.
Joanne Crowley. Present. Seeing that we have a quorum, I'll now call the meeting to order, and I would ask that you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
To the republic for which it stands, one nation.
under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The first item on our agenda this evening is we have our town engineer, Amanda Lima, with us. And she is going to present us with a preliminary draft of a policy for the town with regard to a complete streets program that is sponsored, I think, by Mass DOT. And we just want to learn a little bit more about it this evening. She's given us a draft of what the policy might look like that would be presented to the board, the select board, for approval. But at some point, maybe not tonight, but at a future meeting, she would like to have our recommendation to move forward with it and some support from us for it. So, Amanda, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Amanda Lima, the town engineer, and with me tonight is Amanda Murda, who's our engineering intern and also a recent Cape Cod Tech graduate. So we're very
Welcome,
excited.
Amanda. Yeah, you're here.
And,
I think that mic's on. Can you just press the button?
There you go.
There you
You
go.
got it.
am I good to go? It's blinking. It's red. Okay.
We good, Kath?
Go ahead, sorry.
I still don't hear anything.
No, I'm not.
I don't
Now
think,
it's on.
I do see a green light, though.
Now it's on Amanda.
Hello? All right. Perfect. Thank you so much. Just for those on Zoom, Amanda Lima, I'm the town engineer, and with me tonight is Amanda Murda, who's our engineering summer intern and also a recent Cape Cod Tech graduate. Back in March, our town administrator had reached out to engineering to try to solicit potential grants for the town, and one of the missing pieces is not having a complete streets policy implemented. The Complete Streets policy is a Mass DOT initiative, and I grabbed a little quote from their website, which is that it provides the critical gaps in transportation networks by giving Massachusetts municipalities tools and funding to advance complete streets in their community. Complete streets are ones that provide safe and accessible options for all travel modes, such as walking, biking, transit, and vehicles for people of all ages and abilities. The The policy is part of a tiered system. It's the first tier. And as you had mentioned, Joanne, it's a policy to be adopted by the select board. And then the second tier of that is developing an implementation plan in which the Cape Cod Commission would help us rank different projects for implementation. And the final tier would actually, beginning the construction work. And that is a $500,000 rolling over a 4-year fiscal that the town would be eligible for, along with grants for the Safe Routes to School. So in your packets tonight is a draft policy that Amanda helped develop based on the other 11 communities that have an adopted policy on the Cape. Of those 11 communities, 9 of them have moved into the Tier 2. You're not required to continue moving, but if you would like to be eligible for funding, you would continue on. 9 of those communities have continued to move on, and at least 4 of them have received implementation funds for projects related to their plan. The policy itself has a pretty I wouldn't say strict, but encouraged guideline. You have a scoring system, which DOT folks can help you see where you're at evaluation-wise. You need to score an 80 points in order to move forward in the tier process that they have provided. They have a whole, and I can provide this too, Complete Streets Funding Program guidance. And in here, there's a lot of really good frequently asked questions, such as, if this policy is suggesting sidewalks in an area, does every single subdivision that comes forward need sidewalks? And the answer is no. And that there's plenty of opportunity and flexibility to be able to look at everything as a case-by-case basis to be able to provide, the best needs to the community. So for tonight, again, we provided the draft just to kind of get initial feedback. While I just mentioned the whole tiered system is very structured and how we can move forward, there isn't a lot of clear guidance in regards to how to do the public outreach portion of it. I was really excited to come to the planning board because in the last 6 years, I haven't had the opportunity to. Just to kind of, solicit different ideas that you guys may have. The Cape Cod Commission for their projects will do like tabling events along the rail trail. So Amanda and our other intern, Louisa, will be doing that before the end of their internship. And if there's anything else that you guys would like to have or ask questions, just so we can make sure that we have a well-rounded policy as we move forward.
Amanda, you referenced a MassDOT a document that has FAQs regarding the program.
Yep.
I think that might be useful to maybe Kathy can share that with us. Because one of my first questions was, what is this program? And although the policy clearly is meant to be a simplified direction for the town, I was more curious about, how it came to be, why MassDOT thinks it's important, and what are the benefits to us and the town in terms of options for grant funding. So I would be interested in seeing that, if you could forward that to us through Kathy. And I'd like to just open it up to the members of the board to any questions or comments with regard to what Amanda has presented with us tonight. You have Susan, Ms. Britta? Yep.
We just finished our local comprehensive plan. I'm assuming that, and the second question would be, what kinds of things are incorporated into this program? But I'm assuming that this program would be not in conflict with what we have in our comprehensive plan regarding transportation. It would be complementary.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
What kinds of things are contemplated in this program? It's like new sidewalks, or
Correct. Yeah. So it's increasing.
how is that different from current funding that the state, the town would get from the state? What makes this different from our current relationship with DOT?
So that's a new pocket of cash in regards to the $500,000 over the rolling 4-year fiscal. So
Okay.
you can have requests up to $500,000 over 4 years rolling.
Okay.
So and then also a new requirement for the Safe Routes to School. The spokesperson didn't confirm that it was definitive yet, but we wouldn't be eligible for the Safe Routes to School, while in the past we would have, and without the policy. She didn't say exactly when that part would be implemented, but we have, done evaluations in February of '24 for the high school for doing improvements. So we just want to make sure that we have this in works so that we wouldn't miss out on an opportunity.
So is the process that the town would propose and the state would dispose? We would say we want a sidewalk along Route 28 in West Yarmouth, and they would say, fine? Is that how, or they do, is it a collaborative, do they make suggestions to us?
Right, so the policy, there's tier one is the policy, and then someone has to attend one of their classes.
Right.
And then step two, the tier two is the implementation, the prioritization plan, and that's, like you mentioned,
Okay.
getting more public outreach. The Cape Cod Commission would help us with
Okay.
that. Planning and, like you said, ranking, whether it's sidewalk projects, and like I said, it's opened. I would think that sidewalks would be the most common ones, but it could be, just like crosswalk improvements
Right.
and, again.
But if they propose something that the town didn't want, I assume the town would still have the authority to say, no, that's not within our, we're not interested in doing that. We would have
Yeah,
the.
they're not initiating the projects. It would
Okay.
be,
So
it would
we
be the
initiate
town,
and
our
they- okay.
projects by getting
Good.
outreach, yeah.
Okay. I'm always concerned about using other people's money, because sometimes they dictate, they come up with things that you really don't want to do, and they say, well, if you want it, you've got to do it. So the process is we propose as a community, and they say, yes, that fits within the policy, and we would help, and we would consider a grant of a certain amount. Do they fully fund the project, or is it a partial grant, and we're responsible for?
If I would guess, it would be partial, because
what I thought.
$500,000
Okay.
isn't going to go very far at all.
Okay,
Our
and does it
projects are
cover
very
all
expensive.
modes of transportation?
We haven't gotten to that part of the policy, but I can follow up on that detail. So I'm not sure exactly.
And what's the timing on this? What does the state give you in
Yeah,
terms
so
of timeframe?
again, the town administrator had reached out in March, and I had responded back saying, we're very interested, given where our workload is. And Amanda had availability, so we were like, let's squeeze this in, and I met with Kathy. So there isn't a clear path. The other communities, like I mentioned, the 11 that have adopted them, started in 2016, and it went through 2022. So there's no clear, deadline that we would be missing by not. We're trying to, get as much outreach so that, it feels very, solid before we ask for the select board's approval.
Okay. Have you had feedback from the other communities that have participated in the program? Are they satisfied with it, or?
I haven't solicited that. I know that we reviewed them all to put together what we have today, but.
They mostly the bread and butter things like sidewalks and,
Yeah, there was
Stuff like
four that was on the Cape Cod Commission's website, and I didn't continue reading, other than counting them, to be honest with you. But again, we're very in the beginning stages of it, before we start digging in, and I can help answer those questions as we continue on.
yeah, any access to money, I think we always should take a look at it. I just don't want too many, and especially if we're proposing and they're disposing of our requests, there's really no risk at that point.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good idea. Oh.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
So I'm in full agreement with what Susan just said. If there's any access to state money and it works for us, we should take advantage of it. The one thing I guess I'm looking for a little clarification on, the street policy, and then you said there was also a Safe Route to School program too, and you said it was one or the other, I guess. Am I correct in that? You could apply for one but not the other?
No, it was saying that a change in the Safe Routes to Schools policy may be that you have to have an accepted complete
Street
streets
policy,
policy.
okay.
Yeah, so in order to be eligible for that grant, they haven't definitively, that
Okay.
I'm aware of, made that notice, but the spokesperson mentioned that would be, that's in the
So
in
if
the
we
works.
take
So-
advantage of this program, which I highly encourage, will we also try and take advantage of the Safe Route to School
Right,
program as
yeah,
well?
so we did an evaluation in February of '24 of the high school to do
Remember that, yeah.
improvements of that, and there was recommendations from that report. And then when I followed back up for that, that's when the woman had mentioned that, that you might want to be moving forward with the complete streets policy part.
Great. Great job by both of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter, anything? Okay. I spoke with you before the meeting started, just kind of not necessarily off the record, but I do have some suggested changes to make I think, the policy statement a little bit more crisp, including just general comments about adding in not just roadways, but walkways. The word walkways, and I don't know whether this is a DOT requirement or not in terms of how you pull all the information from the 11 towns that have already applied for and are successful in doing this. I mean, I would hope that our policy wouldn't run counter to that. But I did have some just preliminary comments in terms of how the policy statement might be adjusted in a little bit of way, in a couple of different ways. And as I mentioned before, Kathy will tell you that I bring a background of being a policy wonk to the table, so I apologize in advance.
No, we appreciate it.
So you can, I'll give these to you, and you can use them as you wish. But I just think there are just a couple of things that we might, where there's repetition, maybe it's required. And I can understand where the regs for this particular policy statement might require you to say it once, say it twice, say it 3 times, because sometimes policies require that. But I did have just a couple of questions in terms of, you did mention in terms of available other documents, and most of them I'm aware of, but I wasn't aware of the ADA transition plan. Do we have?
We do.
We do, okay.
It is dated. It's 1992. I know that Sarah O'Reilly is the liaison on the Disability Commission, and they had put in a grant for a consultant to update that. They also reference the walkthrough that Kathy had. I forget which plan that was a part of.
Space and Rec plan required an ADA transition plan for all of the rec.
So they do reference that as well.
In open space and rec plan. Yes, you told me that, Kath.
Yeah, so that was, so we had pursued a grant, which we'll find out in the fall, for this east entrance accessibility, and we provided both of those documents as part of that.
Great, thank you. I don't have any other questions unless the board does, and I like the fact that you're sorry you haven't been invited more often. I can arrange for more invitations. Watch out. Mark knows.
That's right.
We might as well, yeah, he's an honorary member, so, but we appreciate, thank you both, Amandas,
Madam
for your
Chair.
work. Yeah,
Do you have Will on?
Oh, Will.
I didn't know if he had a
Oh,
comment.
thank you. My clerk isn't sitting next to me, so, Will.
Yes, hi, Madam Chair. I'm glad you mentioned the open space and rec plan because Amanda did participate in that a little bit during that process. And I think we did plow a lot of that earth, and I hope that you'll be definitely referring to it because we'd heard a lot from people around the town about these issues as we built that open space and rec plan. And I'm sure as you do more public outreach, you might come across some similar themes that we discovered in that 18-month journey. I'm glad that we're getting to ask MassDOT because it would trouble me if it was the opposite, given what they're about to do at 28 Main Street near the hospital. So I'm throwing that back out. I'm glad to hear we get to propose to them versus the other way around. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Will. Appreciate that. Again, Amanda, I'll give you my preliminary comments here. Take them as you will. I just want to make sure that we can get the best product in front of the select board, because I think what you've heard this evening is that we all support it. It's, it's very simple. It's a 5-page document, 4-page document. It's not that complicated. And we should be able to get this to the board, select board, quickly and hopefully get it going so that the town can take advantage of these funds that are available.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Guys.
I'll give it to Kath, and we'll catch up later. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining us this evening. The next item on our agenda are zoning amendments. In our packet that Kathy has provided to us, we have draft number 2 dated August 4th with regard to shellfish retail sales, and boat storage, draft number 2, also dated August 4th, 2025. Kathy, you want to run us through a little bit of what you've got here? And thank you. Building Commissioner Mark Grills is here to help us as well this evening.
But basically, you see reflected in your packet and on the screen is some edits that were suggested based on the last meeting that we had. I believe that was July 16th. There's some concerns about making sure that the person who is catching it and selling it is also the resident of the property. Not the homeowner, because it may be a tenant, so it's just the resident of the property. And that's really the only significant change that was made based on the meeting last time. Some of the things that there's been some additional kind of rumblings and public comments that I've been hearing in my travels, and there's been some concerns about, whether this was originally designed to say, okay, we are a community that wants to support our commercial fishermen, our commercial lobstermen, and we're kind of allowing it universally in many respects throughout our entire community. So this is beyond what would be necessary specifically to address Mr. Tolley's concerns with the lobster sales in his areas. So I very briefly discussed it with Mark, and I kind of had an epiphany this afternoon as to whether we wanted to maybe consider limiting this a little bit more, and just allowing it in the residential zoning districts, and maybe considered limiting it to lobster sales only. I don't know whether this is something that would be too restrictive for town council's comfort level, but I wanted to bring it up to you guys, because the whole idea is we want to be sure that we get something to present at town meeting that the whole community feels comfortable with, and something that can pass at town meeting, but also meets the needs of Mr. Tolley.
So what that means, Kath, is on the use table that you provided to us, the first column there that's residential would have the footnote 7 apply.
Correct. So
But-
this one here would have the footnote 7.
Right. And that footnote, you're suggesting refer only to lobsters.
It's a question for discussion with
Yep.
you guys, if you wanted to more narrowly define what
Okay.
we're allowing.
Okay.
You could have it, instead of being harvested or caught lobsters shall be in compliance with all applicable local, state, and federal regulations, may only sell what personally caught or harvested by the resident of the property, and the lobster must be sold whole and not prepared or processed. So it wouldn't be a lot of edits, but we want to make sure that by restricting it just like that it's not causing, Dover Amendment, agricultural, other types of legal issues for us.
Okay.
I think it would still meet Mr. Tolley's needs by limiting it to lobsters. It also might make other people in the community feel a little bit more comfortable. To be a lobsterman, you have to invest a significant amount of money. Not everybody's going to be doing that, versus someone who might have a nice, recreational boat and a commercial fishing license, who might be able to bring in some fish that they would like to sell in their neighborhoods. So it's just a question to you guys as to whether you want me to pursue that with town council. We are also going before the select board on Tuesday night for the LCP, but we're also going to introduce this to them to get some feedback from them. So just kind of see how you wanted to go, how you wanted to present that information.
So there are two things that we're looking at here. One is moving it to lobsters only, and then also adjusting the use table so that it would only be, the footnote 7 would apply only in residential.
Yeah, residential RES, but not the RS40.
Right, right, the
RS40
very
is our
first
most
column.
restrictive,
Yeah,
and it's in the
yeah.
historic district along
Yeah.
Route.
So it would only be the very first column in the use table.
That's some of the ideas that I was thinking of this afternoon, whether you would be interested in pursuing that.
I'm open to comments from the board. Ms. Britta?
At some point, didn't we discuss maybe also limiting it seasonally?
That was for boats, not for.
That was boats?
That was
What about,
boats.
what about limiting this seasonally?
I think the nature of
Do they
the
do lobster
fish
fishing in
is
January?
going to limit the seasonality of it.
And
You think, I mean,
Yeah, they go out year-round, Susan, if that's the question,
Oh, they-
depending on the weather. There's no, if you have a commercial license, or.
it's
you-
not limited.
It's
in
not
other words.
limited.
Okay. What about, it says require special permit. Why is that not a variance?
It's a variance now, we'd be making no changes.
It says special permit from the zoning board, so they'd get a special permit, they would not be getting an exemption from the, they'd not be asking for a variance?
They asked for a variance already, and they were denied a
Denied.
variance. Variances are much more difficult, especially use variances, because the criteria doesn't really apply to uses in the same sense as it would a physical something on a property, dimensional or other.
And why did they turn them down on the variance?
They felt they did not meet the variance criteria.
Because of what we,
Special permit won't run with the land either, so I mean, it's not, is that right? I mean, it's,
I think it can be written
permit
either
won't
way.
really apply to the current, it could limit it to the
right,
current
right, right,
occupant,
right,
you know.
right.
Well,
Right.
they can condition the variance as well.
Zoning board could.
Mark, could you come to the table, please? Commissioner Grillis. Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the board, hi. A variance can also be conditioned to expire with the transfer of the property. So special permits, they run with the property just the same as a variance can. It's just, unless it's conditioned by the board to expire.
With the transfer of the property.
Correct.
And that could be written into any,
As a condition.
written
In the
into any spe-
conditions.
Yeah,
So it would pick up the notion of the punch of a variance, but still be included in the special permit conditioning. In other words, you'd pick up, if the property was sold, the special permit becomes null and void.
That's right.
Is that what you're saying?
that's
Only if the conditions specifically say that this expires with this applicant,
Right,
is typically
right,
what it
right.
says.
Right.
And would we want to include that kind of language in the amendment?
The board, the zoning board of appeals would make that determination
see.
in their hearing, in their deliberations.
Could we write that into this?
Could we make a recommendation to the zoning board?
That's a legal question. You're probably going to talk to council about.
So what I'm hearing is I think we might want to think about having legal counsel look at that at the time of transfer of the property, there would be an expiration essentially
Right.
of the special permit.
Right. That used to be Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was also the conditioning originally in our original ADU language. It was a special permit, but the permit expired when the property was sold. It did not.
When the property
transfer.
sold, they had 60 days to renew the special permit. The new owner had the opportunity to renew through the registry of deeds. They didn't have to come for a hearing, but they had to re-up their deed restriction.
Yeah. I think it's at least get the opinion of the town council, whether.
I'm seeing some heads shaking yes? Okay. Mark, you okay?
Absolutely.
You okay?
Madam
Yes,
Chair, we're also
Mr.
going to
Smith.
ask council on restricting it to lobster only, if that's too restrictive, correct?
Yeah.
And, finally, it's, we're restricting it to column 1 in the use table.
Residential
Right.
only. Yep. Both those three questions would be, it sounds like, lobsters only, limiting it, the 7 note to residential only, and then whether we could also in this note say the special permit expires upon transfer of property automatically.
Right.
Mark, if a special permit doesn't specifically say that it expires or doesn't transfer to the next owner, does it automatically, is it assumed that it'll just roll over?
If it doesn't say that, if it's not specific, it goes to the next owner.
It rides with the property, not the applicant.
Again, that's another legal question, but that's the way I've always interpreted it.
And also, can I just ask one
Yes,
question?
yeah, please.
Didn't we say we did not want to talk about signage?
Add that in there. This is
Off-premise, this is on-premise.
Off-premise,
This is only
okay,
on-
got
This
it,
is only
got it.
on-premise.
Okay.
Yeah. Mr. Rubenstein?
We just lost him.
Disappeared.
He's gone.
He quit.
be back.
Gee, and I actually jumped on that. I mean, I typically don't even, I forget those people.
Comes back in, promote him.
Okay, thank you. Anything else on this particular one? We're good to go?
I
With,
guess my only
some-
question to you is how do you want to present it to the select board?
Yeah,
I may have some information from town council before that meeting, but we won't have had a chance to discuss it. So how do you want to present it? Do you want to present what we have so far and then note that we're also looking into these things with town council?
Yeah.
I would think that's the way to do it.
This is the
that's
draft.
what's out in public, Kath, so.
Present
yeah.
what we have in this draft number 2, and then note that we are looking at,
The 3 items.
Into the three.
And for clarification on
Issues that
these
we
3
brought up.
topics.
That's okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
that sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda is the amendment for boat storage and recreational equipment. Not just boats, but mostly focusing on that. So we have, Kathy had put together some wording with regard to the provisions in 401 and with regard to the exception. So Kathy, this is really what we just talked about last meeting?
Anything that's highlighted is a slight rewording, so I think you really wanted to make sure that the boat was registered to the owner or the resident of the property, so it doesn't become, people's friends storing it. And then that it was also specifying the length and located on a registered trailer. So it was just some minor reworking of the language there, but the main change is that we added the to the owner or resident of the property, that the boat needs to be registered to them. And I don't know where we stand on the length. I think
Yeah.
we're still.
Any questions, comments from the board on adjustments to this? Ms. Britta?
Just a clarification. So does this also allow them to park a boat in back of the house? All right, so that, I have to tell you, is, I think if anything, I think the residents, certainly, I did like a scientific survey of people on my beach. If anything, they want more restrictions, not less. Or not fewer. Why can't we say, and I think I had sent Kathy some potential language, why can't we say you can park either in the back of the house or in the driveway, but not both? That way, they have a choice. Because right now, that means, and the other thing, they have a house that could have a boat in the back, boat in the driveway. If there's an ADU on the property, does the ADU have is an ADU authorized also to have a boat?
If it's registered to the resident and of the ADU.
So you would have potential to have 4 boats on one lot, 2 in the back, 2 in the driveway, if there's driveways for each, for the ADU.
No, it's one can be located in the driveway.
It's specific to one boat, Susan.
One boat in the driveway, right, but what if
There's
there are
one
two-
boat on the property.
What if there's, but what if what if there's a driveway for the ADU? So there's a driveway for the main house, a driveway for the ADU. That means there could be 4 boats on one lot, potentially. 2 in the back, 1 in each driveway.
Or maybe you want to say one boat per lot, maybe, because I don't think the intent is to have multiple boats.
Why
in the
can't we
front.
say either or? Why can't we say you can either put it in the back or you can put it in the driveway, but you can't have 2 boats on the lot?
You guys could, but I think that the last discussions that we had is you're really interested in allowing for the easy access during the boating season and limiting the timeline of
But
it.
how does having a boat in the back and the boat in the driveway conflict with that concept? I'm concerned about location. I'm concerned about another assault on residential neighborhoods where we have, the ability to have a home business, childcare centers complete with chain link fences. I think our building inspector mentioned early on that there is now no restriction anymore for adult childcare centers. We have ADUs, all of which compromise the concept of a residential neighborhood. And I think expanding the use of boat, even though we're supposed to be, and we are, a sea, but we're also a residential neighborhood. And I found no appetite at all for people to be expanding the concept of I think we have a legitimate concern with the applicant, because he lived in a situation where he had a circular driveway, which is either driveway nor back. So I think we can retain the concept of 1 boat per lot and have them, you can either put it in the back of the house or in the driveway, but you cannot have 2 boats on the lot. And right now, this would allow 2 boats.
Yes, it would.
And
Are we right, Mark? It would allow 2 boats?
Yeah, and I think that's,
Yes, it only allows 1 boat in the driveway, but then if you had a boat stored behind the front line, it's not a violation of the zoning bylaw.
That
I would
exists
like-
right now.
Well, right now, you can't put it in your driveway. It has to be behind the front line, but you could have a boat on either side of your property. One of the big reasons for this recommendation is that Yarmouth is full of small lots. And people don't, you know, they want to have a boat, they want to enjoy their recreational time out, but they don't have any place to put it other than pay the boat storage fees or put it in the driveway. They don't have a place, so if you only want it in the driveway for the summer months, they don't have any place to put it in the winter. All those people will be jetting to Florida, and I'll be calling them in Florida saying, you got to move your boat. So you got to, I think limiting it to just certain months of the year to store it in your driveways is overly restrictive, honestly. If you're going to allow it in the driveway, allow it in the driveway
Without a time restriction.
without a time restriction. Because again, a lot of people have boats and they can't put it beside there's no way for them to put it there because their house fills their whole lot side to side. They're tiny lots. They're just really small lots in town. So that's been an issue with a lot of people. And some people have had to cut down giant trees in their yard, you know, big oak trees that are, 24 inches across so that they could not be in violation. So that's all I really got to say about that.
So enforcement, you're saying, were we to apply this particular change, would be very difficult. And the boat's in the driveway and they're gone,
Yeah,
essentially.
yeah. It'll lead to complaints, which we get them frequently, but.
But right now, there's no restriction on the number of boats that could be properly
Correct.
set behind the front line of the house.
Right.
It's
As long as
unlimited.
as long as they're owned by the same
Yeah,
person that
same-
lives
yeah.
there.
That goes for the
And
trailers,
that's an
too.
implied, and that's implied, it's not even written. We just, if you have 5 other boats from 5 different owners on your property, now you're a boat storage yard for all intent purposes.
Right. And
So-
there are a couple of those around.
There's also one that has 6 boats in his yard, and they're all his. They exist.
Are they all behind the front line of the house?
Yes, they are.
So then he's compliant.
The neighbors don't like it,
Yeah.
but it's not a violation.
Right.
So it's a complicated matter. It's not, I don't think there's any real simple fix. This is a simple way to address, a common issue with people with small lots.
It's also the people that don't want to keep taking it from back to the front, back to the front. They put it in the driveway, and then they find a way to store it behind the house in the winter. I mean, I think this is going to accommodate quite a few more people.
Oh, definitely.
This will increase use and intensity, I mean, regardless of whether or not it's seasonal, so it's,
So the expectation is on November 1st,
It goes behind the front of
scouts
the
will
house.
go out and look for boats that are still on the lot?
No. I'm not going out looking for boats.
But
I
I
got
think-
plenty of
no,
other
but-
things to do. If I
right.
get complaints, I'll address the complaints, but,
It's
my guys
enforcement,
can't be
yeah.
driving around. They tend to run into Mercedes-Benzes and Audis
So
when
the
they do
enforcement
that,
issue
so-
is not really
Literally.
solved. It's expanded, as a matter of fact, because you're now, if this stays the way it is, you've got double the amount of
Well,
violations.
we don't get a lot of complaints. We might get 20. One year we had one complaint, and that guy just drove around town and ratted out everybody in town. So that was the year that I wrote that memo to the board, thinking that you should probably give some consideration to it because there were so many violations around town. I think one of my inspectors wrote 24 letters in a 2-month period.
Yeah, I know we have a lot in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
We have a lot of violations in our neighborhood, and the neighbors want to be neighborly, and they don't say anything.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of grumbling.
Oh, yeah.
So any attempt to expand what's annoying them is troublesome.
I don't know that it would be an expansion. If they're already parking them in the driveway and they continue to park them in the driveway, it's not an expansion.
I think
right?
I agree. And if they're just parked in the driveway or in the back of the house, and they're able, and I don't care if they leave it there. I'm not particularly concerned about the seasonality. If
mean, I
someone
don't have
wants to
an
leave a
issue
boat
either
there
way.
during the winter, let them.
I don't have an issue either way. Whatever you guys decide, or whatever the
We're-
town
we're-
meeting votes for, we're going to enforce it.
Yeah, because where do they go in November to drag their boat to have it stored? By then, I think most of the marinas are up to capacity. So we're putting into effect something that's almost non-enforceable. So I think if we say either or, but you only have one boat, and you choose where you want to put it, I think and you can do it all year. So I'm willing to trade off the onesies and twosies for the seasonal. I don't care about the seasonal. In fact, I think leaving it in the winter is part of the problem. They have no place to put it. So saying it's got to be out of there by November 1st is like a scofflaw. We're like enshrining a scofflaw.
What you'll have then is boats with shrink wrapped and permanently in their driveway that are never in the water.
Right, but that's the way it is now. I mean, there are boats in my, but
I don't-
in my, drive through my neighborhood, there are boats there all the time, shrink wrapped all year round.
But I
In the
mean,
driveway?
Yep. Yep.
right, but I think this opens it up.
I think this is too liberal.
Legal now versus illegal.
Right. That's why we had recommended the dates in here, was to try and eliminate the shrink wrap boats just sitting in driveways year round. That was the reason why.
I know, but we attempted to eliminate it, but we can't, because from a practical point of view, they have no place to go on November 1st. If they had a place to go, once they take their boat out of the water, they would take it there. We're saying to people, November 1st, go find some marina that's gonna take your boat. That's just an unrealistic thing to expect these sailors to do.
Yep.
Well, I mean, you would negotiate where you're going to go before November 1st. You wouldn't,
Oh,
you-
I
you
agree,
would maybe
but-
do it
but
October
Peter,
or September. You wouldn't
I agree,
all of a
but,
sudden.
but if we say you have one boat and you can have it in the driveway and shrink wrapped all year round, first of all, it eliminates a profound scofflaw notion that these people are just not doing what the zoning says to do. And having that out in the public, that we have something on the books that is almost unenforceable, I think is just bad public policy. And I just think it's bad public policy. It's like saying the speed limit on Route 28 is 30, but go ahead and go 40.
Everybody does.
Because we can't enforce it. This is a combination of an enforcement issue and trying to figure out how to accommodate. And so I'm willing to limit the amount. And if they want to leave their boat in the yard all year, which I look at all the time, I mean, that is endemic in my neighborhood.
But I don't think it's so much in other neighborhoods. I think it's
Well, we're very
it's
close to the
welcoming
water,
it's
and we're also
welcoming a
very-
problem
yeah,
in
we're very
many
close
more
to the water.
neighborhoods.
Small lots.
On small lots.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
There's a lot of kayaks, a lot of other stuff like that, but there's also some big ones. We're also very near the free launch at Englewood. So we have a lot of people with boats in that neighborhood that leave them there all year round. You know, they use them in the summer, shrink wrap them in the fall. Christmas Eve, they're still there.
I think in your neighborhood, we're there in November and December, and we've written a lot of violations in your neighborhood, and they seem to get cleaned up pretty quickly. So there are some that people question whether or not they're actual violations. They're not. If you read our bylaw, they're not violations. They're on a corner lot. So the bylaw right now says it has to be behind the front line of the building, not off the front setback or not out of the front yard. It says on the front plane of the building.
Right.
So if you're on a corner lot and you park your boat beside your house, but it happens to be a front, it meets it qualifies
That's
to the bylaw.
one of the issues.
That's one of the issues that you have. So we have been enforcing in your neighborhood, and I know exactly what you're talking about. So I think we get 5 or 6 complaints a year down there.
It is a tough issue because people do like to boat, and we are a lot of, obviously a summer community, and people start using their boats as early as, Easter weekend, if the weather's decent.
Weather's good.
And there is a lot of moving around, a lot of trailer traffic around, getting their boats down to the launch. But I don't think expanding the potential for a scofflaw is anything we should be entertaining.
One thing I seem to see in my neighborhood is people who shrink wrap the boat, put it behind the line, but then in the summer, they want to take it out on a trailer. And that's what I perceive this as doing. Like they put it away behind the house or they send it to storage for the winter. But in the summer, they want it on a trailer so they can go out in it. And but I hadn't really considered the idea of so many extra boats.
I think the nature of this coming to us from the beginning is all about, I'm going to make up kind of the prototype of what the boater is. The boater is a boater. It's got a 25, 30-foot boat. Properly puts it behind the property line, shrink wraps it or not, and then puts it on a trailer for the season.
Yeah.
And wants to be able to leave it in his driveway or her driveway for the season, and then properly store it, use it, in accordance with the bylaw.
That's
And
good.
Yeah.
that to me is okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, it's stored properly, and then hopefully it's the person who owns the vessel can use it as they wish, in and out, in and out, in and out. And it's hard to, we've gone through this before with any kind of zoning changes. It all comes down to the enforcement, and quite frankly, it comes down to neighbors calling the building commissioner and identifying some violations. But I can see where I'm having a sense from the board and myself included that multiple boats in a yard, probably not something I'd be in favor of. One, you store it in the winter, and then you have it in your driveway for your use during the summer on a legally registered trailer. I'm okay with that. But 6 boats in a yard, I guess I wouldn't want to be a butter on that one. But it's allowed now.
I was going to say, Madam Chair, you can't put the genie back in the bottle.
No, it's not.
It's allowed
there.
now. So.
Yeah, it's allowed now. And so, I mean, the genie in the bottle now is no limit on the number of boats. And if we wanted to make this amendment change, do we want to make an amendment change on the number of vessels in the yard?
I think that
At any
circles back to an enforcement issue that Susan was talking about, that then puts the onus back on the building commissioner.
I'm willing to trade the issue of number of boats and give them a choice on location. I think that's a better solution. One boat, you decide where you want to put it on the lot. You can put it in the back of the house, put it in your driveway, but you got one boat. You can have your trailer, have the driveway, take the boat in and out in the season, and then maybe shrink wrap it. But you decide where you want to put it. But the town says you can only have one boat on your lot. You choose where you want to put it, either in the driveway or the original language in back of the, whatever the language is. You can shrink wrap it, you can put it in a marina, you can bring it back out in the spring, you can have your trailer, but one boat on a lot. That is trying to preserve the residential concept of a residential neighborhood. The number of boats, I think, is a killer. Opening that up, then you'll get, we got a kayak, and we got a rowboat, and we got a this, and we got a that, and
I don't think those would be.
so I'm willing to trade, but I'm willing to trade the number of boats for location. Give them the option of where they want to put it, but the town says the zoning bylaw says one boat. I don't think, I don't know, how many people have 2 boats?
Quite a few.
Well, then they're gonna have to find some place to store the second one.
I had 2 boats at one point in my life.
Especially if we're dealing with a residential neighborhood. We do not want these neighborhoods to start looking like, a marina.
So Susan, are you saying that you're okay with boats being stored in the driveway, shrink wrapped year-round,
Yeah,
unused?
I am. I'm willing to
Then you're
trade.
saying you don't want the neighborhood to look like a marina.
But it's only one boat. Quite frankly, Peter, that's what I see all the time right now. So, but this would allow that notion double. You could shrink wrap it in the backyard, you could shrink wrap it in the driveway. So I don't think the number of boats is the issue. I think it's allowing them to store the boat on their property is a bigger issue, and I think a better solution. Because it cuts down on the number of violations, I would think, because then the owner has got the choice of either putting it in the driveway, and even if they just do it for the summer, then they leave it, or they shrink wrap it. They're gonna do that regardless. I just don't wanna see 2 of them.
You're welcoming a whole lot more boats back into the neighborhood. I think you're giving people the opportunity now to store it year-round, maybe not use it,
But
leave it in the driveway, but you're just welcoming so much more back in, and we're already,
But that's what I look at now. I think that's one of the issues right now, is it's not enforced.
I'm thinking of, but everywhere, not just your neighborhood. I'm thinking of Captain's Village, where every lot is under 10,000 square feet. And you walk down any one of the streets, and you won't be able to see 100 feet in front of you, because you're gonna have your boat's gonna.
Well, how many of them, some of them may still want to use a marina for whatever purpose.
Maybe not.
But Peter, allowing 2 doesn't solve that problem.
But the problem wasn't the number necessarily, it was where it was being stored. That's what brought this whole problem here. And then why don't we just not even bother to address it and just change the number of boats and just leave everything behind the front of the house?
I personally would like to see everything. I have no problem with the current zoning, quite frankly.
I just don't want to welcome more, increase the intensity of the yard use in neighborhoods more. And this, what you're saying you're okay with, will do that.
But so with this allows them to do two, one in the backyard and one in the driveway.
They can do that now.
They could have two in the backyard.
Right.
So I'm saying limited to one boat. Either you put it in the backyard or you put it in the driveway.
But we're not here because of the number problem. We're here because of the location problem.
But I think it's a combination of both, because by solving the location problem, you're increasing the number. And I'm not willing to do that.
Okay.
If you solve a location problem, you've increased the number. I think we ought to concentrate on the location. I don't know, I mean, that's just my opinion, but
It may not be increasing the number. I think,
Well,
I think it's a
increasing-
lot of what Joanne was saying is somebody just wants it to be more convenient for in and out with their trailer, but during, the off-season, they're willing to make that, what might be a cumbersome maneuver in order to get it behind
Right.
the front fence.
this language increases the opportunity to put two boats on your lot, and I just don't think that's what we should be doing.
And I think I'm hearing the same thing from Peter, that the language as it sits now will increase the opportunity
Right?
for others to use their driveway in front of the lot line, their house line,
Right.
to store their boats or park them there, even seasonally in and out,
Yeah. Or not at all.
or not at all.
Not at all.
And that's why the bill, I read what the problem was the last time we addressed this. And people got up at town meeting and said, I want to look at shrink wrap boats in my yard, so it never passed. It died.
Well, it never got that far.
Never got that far. Oh, the select
No,
board approved it.
the select board said no.
And they could say no to this, too. I mean, they could say, look, continue to live with what we have. So we either address we could actually address the number and the location in a zoning bylaw. That would be
I-
also an alternative that we could consider.
We could just say one boat per lot lawfully registered,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we could fix this with 2 words here, if that's what you wanted.
Yeah, I think that
Registered to the
whole,
owner.
yeah, I think that whole position is gonna put it all on Mark's team to deal with, because there's multiple homes in Yarmouth currently that have more than one boat behind the front line of the house. And that's just a fact, whether we want to believe it or not. I know at one point I owned 2 boats that were behind the front line of the house. If you came to me and said you can't own 2 boats, I'd tell you to start paying my tax bill.
Madam Chair, can I ask a quick question? Just to
Certainly,
re-
Mr. Rubenstein.
Thank you. Just to reframe, what problem are we trying to solve?
My understanding is that there had been some interest in adjusting the zoning bylaw by, quite frankly, an individual who used their boat quite frequently, in and out, and had been cited for a violation by the building commissioner. And
What I heard you say, Madam Chair, was we're trying to solve a location problem, not a number of boats
no,
problem.
we're trying, I'm not sure it's a location problem, it's a usability problem, or accessibility problem.
Okay.
It isn't
I still
about
haven't heard anything
storage.
about number of boats. That's
Yeah.
the part, that's where I keep getting hung up. Sorry, I just thought maybe that would be a nice way to just take a step back and say, are we solving the problem that was brought to us in this language? And if we are, then that's what we should put in front of the town, or the select board, and then maybe the town. Otherwise, I don't know what kind of outcome we're gonna get if we start solving different problems versus the ones that were brought to us.
Well, I think where we are, Mr. Rubenstein, is that once this request came to us through the board, the select board and the town administrator, for us to consider this adjustment and change to the zoning bylaw, what that does is it opens the door to consider the entire bylaw. And that's what we're doing.
Okay, all right, I get that, and I certainly was in attendance at the previous conversations and meetings we've had, and there will be more on our schedule as indicated in our materials. But I do think if I recall, this is another step in our process, and there will be a formal public hearing coming up later this late summer, early fall. There'll still be another opportunity to chew on this. And again, I'm representing a different constituency. I've never owned a boat, nor do I wish to, nor do I have a particular issue in my own neighborhood about it. So I'm trying to stay purposely quiet because it doesn't actually physically affect me. But I am trying to be sympathetic to where Ms. Britta's coming from in her neighborhood, but also managing the fact that we are a board that has to serve the entire town of Yarmouth, not particular neighborhoods. And so I'm struggling, just like I did during the ADU conversations, which were all very cordial and all very thorough over very many months, because we all live in very different parts of our town. And we all came to the conclusion we're trying to address a Yarmouth problem, not a neighborhood problem. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I appreciate that, Will. In fact, I think that that's why we are kind of opening this up to further discussion, because the last time the board looked at this 6 years ago, what, you know, it was a different time and different place, and different planning board members. So I think what our job is to come to some consensus, if you will, on what we would like to present to the select board and the public that's reasonable, that we think is reasonable after some deliberation on our part. So that's kind of where we are. But we have some time, obviously, to consider this again. Kathy, maybe you can run through kind of a schedule for me, just so I know we're up against the select board presentation, just to let them know. We'll brief them on what we did tonight. I don't think we need to necessarily take any action tonight unless the schedule requires it, as you
You don't have to take any particular, I just need some clarification. Is it going to be a situation where I present kind of what we had here on the draft number 2, but then also note there's continuing discussions on the planning board's part with regard to number of boats allowed and whether it needs to be seasonal in the driveway? I mean, what?
I think it really comes down to the number of boats allowed on the lot, and then whether, adding an additional boat in the driveway is the appropriate measure or not, I think we keep what we have right now as at least a baseline for the open discussion, and then these were the concerns that came up in today's discussion.
If we keep what we have right now and just add a second sentence, or that's A, 401, whatever it is, 2A, and then add a B, and says, or you can park the boat in the driveway, and just be silent on the number of boats.
Then you're going to get as many as that people can put behind
Right.
the front face, plus the driveway.
Well, I'm talking about we're still talking about one per lot. You choose, you choose, because what I don't want to do is put a zoning amendment in place that has a profound example of the law of unintended consequences. And this is, I think, the poster child for that. We're trying to solve the problem, but creating a much bigger problem. And just by way of clarification, my understanding was we're contemplating this, we're looking at this because we had an applicant that actually lived in a house with a circular driveway, and he had no place, he didn't meet the definition of driveway or,
No.
and
The applicant could not fit the boat beside the side of the house, my understanding.
it was leaving it in the circular driveway, right? Or leaving it in whatever you had, whatever the,
Thank you. Commissioner Grills.
Madam Chair, the circular driveway was an example. It wasn't the problem. It wasn't the one that brought it to your attention. So the one that came to your attention is a result of having no way, literally no way. I went over the site plan with them. There's just no way it could fit beside their house. Cutting trees down wouldn't have mattered because they just didn't even have 10 feet beside their house to fit it. So they had a garage, and it was a house that was built probably in the 70s, so it's been there for quite some time.
so it really was the size and location problem. They just didn't have the space to do it.
Correct.
Okay. Would this solve their problem?
This would solve a lot of problems, yes.
It would solve their problem during the boating season,
That's right.
because you have the time there. They would still have to find some other alternative place to store the boat
In the off-season.
in the off-season.
Which is not everyone, it's just it's a smaller percentage.
Yeah.
So I would say, this is where we were discussing, and it discussed at the meeting this evening, the potential of limiting the number of boats allowed on an individual lot. It'd be interesting to see what they say about that, but they're going to also ask, well, what does the public think about that?
So the first thing that I'm hearing, and Kathy, you're repeating it, I think, is we're looking at this as kind of an open book in terms of the number of boats on the lot. That's new. That's brand new. Okay, so that's brand new. Number of boats on the lot. So we need to come some maybe consensus or not, because that will be a change to the basic bylaw. Because there is no restriction on the number of boats.
Right.
The second thing is location.
Number of boats and location.
And the third thing is seasonality, in terms of it is a location in the driveway
Yep.
that is not, behind the lot line of the house. Would we apply a seasonality rule to that? So those are three changes to the current amendment, current bylaw that we're in discussion about.
Continued
And
discussion.
I see that there is, at this point, I don't see a consensus that's developed until we have some further conversation about this. And it would be good to understand from the Select Board, which I think we should take advantage of that when we meet with them on Tuesday, to get a sense from them.
So do you want to present this at all, or simply
No,
draft 2 at all?
I'd like to hear from the
Yeah,
board
I
on
think
that.
you're right, Joanne.
Do we want to, I really need to have your help here. Do we want to present this as the red line version, that this is what we talked about tonight, and we have these three concerns, issues that we'd like to address? Because Kathy and I have got to go before the Select Board on Tuesday. So
And so
I need
the-
some help here
the
as to
continuing-
what you want.
Yeah, I think it's necessary we get there, at least the preliminary thinking. I think we should present it. I think we should say we're continuing to discuss the issue of location, number of boats, and seasonality. So and we have reached no consensus. The planning board has reached, because we're having continued conversations about it, and leave it at that. And then say to them, is there anything else we should be looking at? What do you think so far? Try to get some feedback from them, because of what happened last time. Went forward, everyone thought it was a great idea, and the select board said absolutely not. So why spin our wheels if they absolutely don't want to talk about seasonality? They think they don't think that's a valid concern. We do, but they may not. So if we can get some sense of where they're coming from, I think that would help us with our deliberations.
Deirdre?
I think that to present it with the discussion is a good idea, because I don't feel that it's easy to resolve it. I think we're all seeing it in different ways. It certainly, my neighborhood doesn't seem like your neighborhood, and I can think of other neighborhoods that have very different attitudes toward it. And so I think getting more opinions from the Select Board would be a really good idea.
Peter?
I agree. I mean, because they might just blow it up anyway. So
Yeah.
might as well find out now.
That's right.
Right.
That's a good point.
And I feel the exact same way Peter does. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
We've taken this as step 2. Let's continue this process. We've told the concerns that we have, address those as well, and let's see where it goes. But I think you got to at least present something, and I'm okay presenting this.
Thank you, Ken. Is that enough, Kath?
Will had anything?
Will?
Yeah,
Mr.
no, I
Rubenstein?
agree. I mean, the reason why we exist in terms of proposing these kinds of amendments is to do some of this dirty work, and then we present it to them, and then we see where we go. And we still have some time, right, Madam Chair, left in the calendar to chew on it after your meeting next week.
We do indeed, and Kathy has put her hand up.
I just want to say that I think the things that we had talked about that are in this draft, those are not completely new ideas. We had talked about it before. We had tweaked it a little bit to address the concerns that we had in 2019. If we're talking about restricting things to one boat, that's a whole nother discussion, and I would not feel comfortable bringing that to fall town meeting. We do not have enough time to do that, to find out how many people would be impacted, how many people have more than one boat, and those are all the types of things that the select board would want us to be able to tell them. So I think if this is a case where you're not comfortable with this ultimately, and then we want to go in the direction of looking at the number, that's a longer process than what we have for fall town meeting. We're not going to make that.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
I agree. I agree. But I think it's worth the wait to do it right. To get something that will actually pass.
Well, that's certainly always our intent.
I think it's worth
To
it,
present something that's going to pass.
I think it's worth, if we have to take the extra time and get some data to support either, one boat, location, seasonal, I think it's worth the effort to get the data.
Thank you for your candid,
Yeah,
no,
Right. Just the thought of it, because I know it
No,
would be
that's
asked.
okay.
Because you need to find out, and we would need a lot more public input meetings in order
Yep.
to do something that drastic. And it would be considered drastic to anybody who owns more than one boat. It would totally change, how they're doing things.
I
So,
don't anymore, thank God, but,
a lot of work, too.
You got enough on
Yeah,
that, Kath, for us to work with?
Yep, and I think what I'm going to do is, I'm going to have a little memo with this stuff, and if it's acceptable to you guys, I'll just run it by Joanne before I submit it to the town administrator's office tomorrow for the packet.
So Kathy and I will review that tomorrow.
Great.
It's got to be in the packet for close of business tomorrow. Okay. Next on our agenda, I have local comprehensive plan.
Okay.
Not this evening. Why is that? This isn't a public hearing.
The other meetings have been public hearings?
No, they've just been public meetings, but we have a lot of business to get through tonight. And I appreciate you being here, and we know full well your opinion on this, and we appreciate you coming. You've come to every meeting when this amendment has been discussed. You wrote me a note. I appreciate that. Kathy sent it along to me, and we understand fully your position, and we appreciate that. But we have a pretty busy agenda coming forward, so we won't be taking any public comment this evening.
The public hearing is the next step we can go to, but I want to make sure you're not ahead of us, because what I'm hearing...
Oh, no, we won't be ahead of you, not to worry.
All right, because I'm hearing about the shrink wrap, you need to really look at that. I think it's a wrench in the gears, and it's a sabotage of the original proposal to put your boat in your driveway. And the other issue, and I'll leave this with you with this, putting your boat in the back of a yard is just incredibly unfeasible.
I'm sorry.
Well,
but
we,
you see-
we, I-
Yeah,
again,
this is-
again,
yeah.
He goes to the podium and we hear him or not.
Yeah.
Because none of that's being recorded.
yeah,
I don't understand.
well, again, we
Thank you.
The hearing, but we come here, and you encourage us to come here. We did, and then I'm here, and I hear all of this conversation. It'll die at the time I get to the car, and I have to articulate to you. You're the members.
I understand. I fully understand.
I don't think it's fair that we're being told tonight, but
Well, I understand there will be full public hearings on all of these. We have a lot of other business
Oh, I
that we need to
understand.
take care of
I hear
in a
that.
timely fashion. And
understand
I
that.
appreciate you coming, and you've been very articulate about your point of view, and you've mentioned all of those things before in your letter to me. So I am clear, I have a clear view of where you stand on this.
Okay.
And I appreciate it. Again, thank you for coming.
Are we understanding it right? It's not going to go in front of the selectmen?
No, we'll be discussing it on Tuesday with them. Yeah, this is on the agenda for Tuesday.
Sure.
Okay, let's go to local comprehensive plan.
Okay. Ta-da! Beautiful. Tight 155 pages. All right. Congratulations. I've done a lot of publicity. I've worked with Lori Sullivan and Marcel in our communications department. But I did send out information to, to staff to send to committees and boards, to all the neighborhood associations, including some up in Yarmouthport, which are a little harder to get to. Civic organizations like the Chamber, the Historic Society of Yarmouth, Friends of Bass River, the Rotary. I sent out a Civic Send little note to everyone who signed up. All my email lists that I have for like Route 6A, Open Space and Rec, the people that I know are actively interested in things going on in the town. There's a radio spot, is my understanding, that's going to be going out. We have the flyer, copies of it over there. We did give out a lot of those at the police night out meeting last night. It was nice to see a bunch of people, a lot of younger demographics, so it was really good. It's on social media. We've been tagging the schools, and we're also seeing if we can't get it in the superintendent's message. We have a news item, and then I've also inquired about portable message boards. So hopefully we're getting the word out. I do have 3 comments from people who've already read it. Some interesting comments, but a lot of positivity as well. So I think we're in good shape for that. I didn't know if you want to go through the schedule a little bit. You had meant, I kind of cut you off on that before. So as we know, we're going before the Select Board on August 12th, and we're going to talk about the draft LCP, and we can talk a little bit about the presentation in a minute, and then also the zoning amendments that we talked about. And then on August 20th, we'll review and see what the Select Board had to say, and then we'll also review the public comments that we've received to date. I like to keep up with them so that we're not getting a big dump of them at once.
Could I just make a recommendation or a suggestion? When the presentation is made Tuesday night to the Board of Selectmen, maybe one sentence about why this plan is different from, because one of my neighbors said, oh, it's like every other plan will get put on the shelf. Not so with this plan. This plan has got like a legislative underpinning, doesn't it, Kathy? Doesn't it have something, the state? Yeah. I think we should say that clearly to the residents, that this is a plan that is required by the state, or whatever word you want to use. It's not just us sitting around figuring out what to do. The state has said, we have to do this.
In order to apply for various,
Right.
any kind of grant.
Yeah, and I think that's what the citizens need to understand, that that's why this is different from some of the other plans we have done, that they, cynically say, oh, just gets put on the shelf, nothing ever happens. That's not so with this plan. This becomes the underpinning for us being able to ask for grants. And that's why it's so important. I don't think a lot of people understand that, so maybe one sentence explaining that would be helpful.
Sure. I think the implementation matrix is the heart of the document. And the fact that we being the planning board, we're going to be looking at it annually, and we'll be requesting updates from the various responsible partners on where they stand on this. And sometimes it might be, oh, we didn't get to that because we were working on this other thing, and look at the great progress we made on that. That's all good information to have.
Yeah.
And then presenting that to the select board and also sending it off to the commission so they know that we're actively working on that implementation schedule. I think anybody who says that plans go on a shelf and nothing happens hasn't really been looking around the town of Yarmouth very much. We have a lot of construction going on, and those are projects that all started with being documented in some plan or other, starting from some study or other. So we actually do get a lot of things that happen in our plans. Open Space and Rec plans are a good example as well of all the things that have already been checked off on that. So anyway, so the 20th we'll do that, but the 3rd will be the date when we'll have basically all the comments, because the public comment period is from August 1st until September 1st. The warrant language, which isn't particularly difficult for the zoning or the LCP, is due, the draft of it's due on the 12th, and that's just something we'll run by on the 3rd, and I'll just email that to them to make sure that they have that information. It's not the final, it's just a placeholder. This is what we're thinking of. And September 17th, we would have the public hearing on the zoning amendments, and then maybe we can do some deliberations and recommendations then, and then come up with the final draft of the LCP for public hearing. What I'd like to know on the 3rd is, what do you hear all of the comments? Which ones do you think we really need to be incorporating? Which ones? A lot of them, a couple of them are like, oh, I think they're already covered under this action item or this action item. Because it is a big document and there's a lot of information there. So hopefully by the 17th, we'll feel pretty comfortable with a draft of this is the one that we want to give the public hearing on for the October 1st. And then I think we would also include deliberations then to see if there's any amendments that we want to make, if we heard anything new that we feel really needs to be incorporated. And then October 15th, we'd really be finalizing that for recommendation and send it to, recommend it and to send it to the town meeting. And then the October 21st is the last day for the execution of the special town meeting warrant, and kind of have that as the presentation of the LCP and the zoning amendments. We may break that up. The zoning amendments may happen on the October 7th meeting or something, but we'll probably need to the 21st on the local comprehensive plan in order to get all that additional public input and then incorporate it in as applicable into the document. And then November 17th, the special town meeting. And then we all take a hiatus for 2 weeks.
Wow, wow.
I'm not even putting in a November 18th meeting, or 19th meeting.
We're
rather.
not meeting before Thanksgiving?
No, no. So hopefully, if everything goes well, on December 3rd, we can just vote to send it off to the commission for certification, and sometime in the early 2026, we'll have the public hearing with the commission. My understanding is, from speaking with commission staff, is that by the time you get to there and you've gotten through town meeting, they're your cheerleaders, and they're very excited the fact that you made it and through the process, and they're very interested in just giving accolades and being happy that you guys did it. So I don't see that as being as too heavy a lift. I did send this off to Chloe at the commission to make sure. She had like 3 things that she wanted to make sure that we had incorporated for certification. She says she's going to look at it in the next couple of weeks to make sure that we've covered it adequately. A lot of it was place types in the growth policy, also having that annual review incorporated into it. And there's one other one, I can't remember what it was. But I know we added all 3 in, so we should be in good shape. So that's the schedule. A tight couple months here. I don't know if anyone had any questions.
Kathy, you and I are going to talk tomorrow about the presentation.
Yeah, I know that at the last meeting, Susan had mentioned, keeping it as a much more overview of the draft, because this will be in the actual
packet.
And we don't need to go into as much detail on the specific action items and stuff like that. I think it was good the first time to give that, but I don't think we want to be going through that again, because a lot of them are all the same, and this isn't new information to the select board. But maybe just coordinating with, again, Joanne, you guys okay with Joanne and I coordinating on that PowerPoint presentation that needs to go in tomorrow, and kind of trying to keep it a little tighter than the other one.
Yeah. And the only other comment I wanted to make was that Kathy had received, and she shared with me, some correspondence from Select Board member Mark Forrest with regard to public engagement. He had raised a question about the month of August, and everybody's away. Kathy got back to him, and I think we're good to go on that. She assured him that there'd been significant public outreach. What he did ask for as part of our presentation on Tuesday will be, what are the specifics of where the outreach has happened? I made a comment to Kathy today that the Cape Cod Commission's RPP is out for the month of August.
Right.
Our local comprehensive plan is out for the month of August. The Joint Bates Cape Cod Environmental Study, is out for the month of August. There's a lot of stuff going on in August, and people are here. It isn't that people have left and they're not around to make a comment. So I feel very comfortable that the timing on this is just right, and there's no need to adjust it at all. And I think Select Board member Forrest is okay with that. So we'll talk with him on Tuesday.
The last thing was the format with
Oh,
the
yes.
action items.
We also had talked about, as you read it, I feel like we jump into the pool, we get out, we dry off, and then we jump in again. And it's just really just the organization of it. And I do think that after Chapter 3, or part of Chapter 3, should be the targeted action plan, should come right next to it. So, because you go through the existing condition, then we go to housing, then we go to capital, and then we jump back in to all those goals and targeted items. And I feel like that, we need to move that back up to maybe be a chapter 4, Kath.
To reorder
I
the.
was wondering if we couldn't just
Make it
have
a-
chapter 3 be existing conditions, key issues and needs, and action, and targeted action plan. I feel like you go through, we identify some great information about the community, we identify our key issues, we identify all the great things that we're working on that address a lot of those key issues, and then you have to go way at the end in order to find out the target action items related to that very specific topic. You notice that when we were developing the LCP, you saw all of that information together. It was only in the development of the draft where the template from the commission has the targeted action plan as a separate thing later. So I guess if it's okay with you guys, when I read it, I kept having to flip back and forth. I did get one comment from someone saying there was some difficulty with the organization and getting
Yeah.
to the information that you wanted. I can ask the commission whether they have any issues with us, instead of having a separate chapter, we include the action item behind each topic that we're talking about, each element.
That's a big visual change. So you're recommending we not have a specific chapter, but actually put the action plan after each,
Right.
okay,
The reason I'm comfortable with that is because then we're repeating it again.
yeah, yeah.
Implementation, granted, these are slightly truncated, and you can get more details going in, but you have it all here. This is where
The
people are
only,
gonna go.
the only thing is people, I mean, the word targeted action plan is, that's a great chapter heading. And people might gravitate toward the action plan and not care about so much the existing conditions and key issues, but what are you gonna do about what's going on here? Either way works for me. I just think, I would not object to just moving chapters, as Joanne recommended, moving chapter 6 up and having it as chapter 4, having it right after the issues, and then the action plan is a separate chapter.
Well, if you
Or
have to move the
do it.
housing wouldn't make any sense.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
I think maybe the idea is chapter 8 really is your targeted action plan and implementation matrix, because this is it.
Yeah.
It was just really hard, even for me, who knows things, to have to keep, oh, where is that? And I'd have to, scroll through. And I can only imagine if you're only looking at it online, I have to,
Yeah, you're bouncing all over the place.
yeah.
So you think it's better to have it right after each item, Kathy, have the action plan?
Kind of how we worked it together and
Yeah, which is
developed it all
true.
together, was we showed all that information for each element, wastewater, everything was together, including the actions, the goal, even, I guess we even have the goal and the actions in there, though.
Oh,
Then it's
well.
everything. I don't know.
Then maybe shorten the chapter 3 heading, just say conditions, issues, needs, and action plan, rather than have a long chapter heading there, if you want to incorporate the action plan into the,
So what Kathy and I talked about is that after, say, I'm on page 21 as an example.
yeah,
Green, wastewater management. We run through wastewater issues, we run through recent actions.
right.
Before we jump to water supply, we insert key activities.
That's fine.
Then we jump to water supply, do the whole water supply, and we do targeted action items. I think that's what we talked about, Kath, right?
Yeah, that's kind of how I saw it going, and then you can do the same thing in the housing chapter and add that in there.
Yep.
And then, whether they make us call it something different, I don't know. I haven't run this by, Jeff or anything, but, this whole information here might need to be included in that chapter 8, where you're talking about what's the targeted action plan. So there's that preamble page
Yeah, yeah.
to it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't read very,
No,
doesn't flow smoothly.
I mean, I agree. I felt like I was jumping in and out of the pool.
So I don't know.
Some sense from the board about,
Yeah, I'll jump in, Madam Chair. I mean, I'd be okay with, in that format, just flipping back and forth. I do agree that you start bouncing around within, the 150 pages, whatever it is. I do agree also that the Chapter 8, the implementation matrix, maybe that heading gets changed and how we truncate that to, tie back in, so at least all the action plan stuff's in one spot and people understand that. I'd be perfectly okay, and I do, just flipping around, I totally see your sense that you're bouncing from one chapter to back to the, it's like, back when you're in high school trying to get the answers to the test, you know? So, not that I ever did that, but.
And we can do this as we go through this. We'll see what the public thinks. You know, it's out for review now in its current state, but I think this is something I think to kind of elevate this to Jeff as a possibility. I mean, I think it's a cut and paste kind of thing.
Oh, I don't think that's.
I don't think it's,
Yeah, I don't think it's a rewrite of the whole book. I think it's just moving
yeah,
some paragraphs around.
yeah.
I agree. But it just, I don't think we can keep it the way it is, I guess, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
Yeah.
It feels too
And-
truncated. But I do feel like we need to ask the commission, because their template has it separate, and make sure that it's okay with them if we were to incorporate it into that section.
I think we should engage with the commission, but not so much an ask, but a tell.
Okay, okay.
I like that.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to have any different.
No, I don't think so either. I think it should be more of we're feeling that it's not working, and this is the way we want to present
Yeah, I
it.
just think it flows
FYI,
better.
it's going to look a little different than what your template might have been for others. But I mean, you look at the Bourne plan, it's like 40 pages long. It's almost like a memo.
Those poor people they were like almost done, and then they did that huge change.
Yeah,
So when
which
they're
is
like,
why they had to do
"Oh,
that.
we just need
yeah.
to do this bare tiny little bit
Yeah.
to meet the certification requirements.
Yeah.
So that's why it's all truncated.
No, that's right, yeah. Okay,
Okay, I will do that.
great. Anything else on the plan? Great job, Kathy. Great job, Jeff.
No, it was good.
Thank you.
It was good.
Next up, meeting minutes. Will, are you still with us? Did you have any comments? I didn't check in with you.
I'm here. No, thank you, Madam Chair.
My favorite clerk.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
May I have a motion to accept the minutes of July 30th, 2025?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Rubenstein?
Abstain.
Okay. Committee updates. RAC or Library Building Committee?
I
or
definitely have a rack one
CDGC?
when you're ready, Madam Chair.
Of course you do, Mr. Rubenstein.
Yeah.
Rack away.
Yikes. Once again, I was unable to attend in person, but I did spend the time watching the complete video, which I'm sure all of you will be thankful that I did. Let's see. There is definitely a bunch of stuff happening. Some of the headline stuff hasn't really changed. The town is still working with DEP to use Bayberry Hills. There'll be pilot testing after the golf course closes in the winter to determine how much water can literally be absorbed up there. So that's good news, because as we all remember, the permit we got from DEP was, let's just say, disappointing. Given that phases 1, 2, and 3 are supposed to handle 1.8 million, and the state gave us a permit for 370,000. Speaking of the plant, it is under construction and continues to go along at the appropriate milestones and pace. And if you want more detail, you can watch the video and they'll tell you more. I will say the town is putting up, I think, some time-lapse videos every couple of weeks, I think, Kathy. I don't know if you've seen those.
No, that sounds cool.
Where kind of like at the new park, where they sort of show some progress, and that's nice. Real quick, under phase 1 in all the contracts, contract 2, Robert Auer, Old Main Street, they still have work to do, after Labor Day, especially at the Pancake Man where that big pump station is going, and they'll be resuming on Seaview Ave as well. Contract 3 is our friends from Rivoli. There's no work happening, as you may have noticed, in that stretch of, I guess, West Yarmouth. All that work is suspended until after Labor Day, and then they will be going back to South Shore Drive. There will be some repaving in the fall, which is a part of the contract. It's not clear yet if the town is doing it or Rivoli is doing it, but that is supposed to happen this fall on 28. Contract 4, which Madam Chair is intimately aware of, is now installed and tested. There's still some conversation because of the proximity to the bridge and the fact that, yes, friends, that bridge project is starting in September. The Bass River Bridge is the question of, do we completely repave it and repatch it now, or do we wait with the DOT about to tear it all up? Again, when I say tear it all up, all the underneath work, the deep down work is done. I'm talking about surface work related to the bridge, and that project is supposed to start this fall. So there's still some back and forth as to how that's all going to go. That is at least, I believe I heard the number 5 years. It could be 6 years, the Bass River Bridge project. It is a big one. I see your face, Madam Chair. I hear you. The power of Zoom. Okay, contract 5 was finally awarded. The DEP put it to the Big Monkey Moose at SRF, which is where our $207 million sits. It's now been authorized, and now we're in the paperwork phase where, it's instruction, it's construction documents, and now it's going to go to the town administrator to sign and the select board. This is the area going from the Parkers River Bridge to Higgins Kroll. So, as you can imagine, that is going to have a significant impact when it starts in October, November, in that section of Route 28 specifically, as well as some of the streets around then. That project is going to take, including summer shutdowns, 2.5 years. And the reason why that sounds like a lot is because there's 2 summers involved. By the time the whole part of that section is done, it will be in early 2028, which is around the time the actual, plant is supposed to come online. Keep going, in order to keep going west in phase 1, we still have the whole issue of contract 6, and I'm here to tell you it is still on hold. There are still quote unquote productive discussions, but as I may have hinted at previous meetings and was now confirmed by Director Colby, it is very unlikely that project will start this fall. It was supposed to, but it doesn't look like it's going to. And as far as how that domino affects other concerns and other issues about the system itself, it's not clear. But we have to trust in the select board and their process, along with the town administrator and the DPW, working with those property owners to find either a new location or to settle on the location that was proposed several months ago. In terms of public outreach, this is an important part I wanted to make. On August 25th at 10 in the morning in conference room A, there's going to be a meeting with DPW, the school district, the school bus company, and any other interested business owners and residents about Contract 5, which is again from the Parkers River Bridge to Higgins Kroll. So also the folks from Diga Construction will be there, which is a similar kind of meeting to what happened in previous contracts, specifically Robert B. Auer. I can't speak for Rivoli because they didn't show up. But the good news is there is going to be some significant public engagement with the contractor in the room talking about the possible impacts, as well as the police, like I said, business owners, property owners, and that is happening on August 25th.
Madam Chair, can I ask Will a question?
Please.
Will, we have a question?
Yeah, Will, just a question on that right there, which is great to hear, but
Yeah.
how are we getting the word out about that public engagement? Because I think that's hugely important from the business standpoint in town.
I hear you. I believe it's also being coordinated with the Armid Chamber, and certainly the town administrator is responsible for some of that work in DPW. It's not clear if that's an actual public meeting as opposed to a meeting that's being held at town hall, if you know what I'm trying to say, Ken.
Yeah, I do.
It's not an actual formal, posted meeting, but I believe the publicity to answer your question is going to come through DPW as well as the town administrator.
Just conference room A is very small.
Right.
Right.
Don't disagree. It's possible I misheard, but that is what I wrote in my notes. So Kathy, if you wouldn't mind, just in terms of the minutes, if I have misspoken, I apologize, but I do know it's August 25th at 10 in the morning. And so Ken, I'm sorry if I can't give you too much more info on that, but the good news is this is an anticipatory conversation before the work starts in, like I said, October and November.
Yeah, I just think it's hugely important that we engage the business community in town after some of the
Agreed.
stuff I heard in the last 6 months, so.
I totally agree, and I think it's fair to say, and we all know this, one contractor behaved in a way that a lot of us appreciated, at least in terms of being transparent and showing up and participating in conversations, and one didn't.
Yep.
And so the good news is that this third contractor, Diggett, which we haven't worked with yet, if I recall. No. But has been awarded contract 5, is willing to engage in the same way that Robert Briara was.
And that's
So-
great. They're a great company. I've used them in
Okay.
my business world, and they're
Good to
an
know.
excellent company.
And also as it relates to the impact on the schools and the buses and all the other stuff. So there's a multi-pronged conversation that's going to happen at that meeting, and it won't be the last one, I imagine. And then, Madam Chair, the rest of the meeting, we started looking ahead, and basically over the next 12 months, the issue of where Phase 2 will be is going to be the majority of our work, in addition to tracking and working with our consultants on the issues we've already discussed, whether it's Bayberry Hills and the other contracts as they get finished, and hopefully including up to the award of Contract 6. There was a representative from the MUC, and I know we're going to talk about MUC soon, Madam Chair, in our meeting, but it all sort of dovetailed with the conversation of, well, how does the outcome of the MUC impact the sewer progress? Because you could make an argument that without a sewer connection at the Mattakey site, it will lower the development potential of the site, which is not an unreasonable conversation to be had. But again, some of these the timescales have to align. The good news is we do have about a year to figure out sort of more detail about where Phase 2 is going to be, and it may or may not be exactly where we see Phase 2 on the maps that we have now. And not only is that influenced by things like the Mattakese, it's also influenced a lot by the watershed needs and which watersheds we're going to be working on and how much they can be, ameliorated. In fact, that also dovetails into another thing, which is Select Board member Mark Forrest was there, and that the Barnstable County Freshwater Initiative does exist. And as it relates to conversations about the future location of any phase, it looks like with his help, we're going to have a conversation either at the Yarmouth Conservation Commission or at a future RAC meeting with the Barnstable County folks, with their staff, to start to talk about a lot of these issues about the location of Phase 2 now that we're in 2025 versus where we thought Phase 2 might be when this was voted on a few years ago. I hope I'm making sense. I know I'm a little bit rolling around. Is everybody okay so far?
Can I
We're
just
okay.
ask- Can I ask one
Okay.
question?
Yeah, Ms. Britta has a question.
Well,
Yes.
what was, contract number 6 is on hold. What are the parameters of contract 6? What is the actual title of that contract? What was that supposed to be for?
That goes from Higgins Kroll all the way to the Barnstable Town line.
On 20.
Basically, we're moving west on 28,
No,
Susan.
I thought that was contract 5.
Nope, 5 goes from Parker's River Bridge to Higgins Kroll.
And then 6.
This is from Higgins Kroll all the way west to the Barnstable Town line.
Okay, got it. Okay,
So that's the one that's being held up by the pump station issue.
right. Okay, got it.
Is that helpful?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Also, as it relates to, just to tie back into one other, in terms of public outreach, it looks like, I predict there will be a conversation way before April town meeting, Madam Chair, in 2026, because with the findings that we get over the winter from the work at Bayberry Hills, obviously because of the DEP decision to limit our permit to 370,000 gallons, whatever design work and other kinds of work we're going to need to pay for as a town in order to use Bayberry Hills so that by 2028 we can, discharge all this water. Well, the good folks of the town of Yarmouth are going to have a conversation in April of 2026 at town meeting in order to pay for that work. Because that is not work that was bonded and, and contemplated for 207 million 5 years ago. So to that end, there will be more public engagement for sure over the winter after those initial tests are done at the golf course in anticipation of a vote at the April 2026 town meeting.
Madam
So
Chair, can I-
that's separate from the contractual public engagement. Go ahead, Ken.
Mr. Smith has a question?
Just a question backing up one quick step.
Yeah, please.
On the discharge permit, has there been any movement at all from the state? Because I know the whole discussion about the whole reason for that number was how much we can raise the water table by.
Right.
So has there been discussion? Because my concern with that is they're basing that on a specific time of year. Summertime's going to be the issue when we have max flow. The rest of the year, we're going to need flow going into that plant. So has there been any discussion at all from the state to say they're willing to look at that number and readdress it?
The good news is there's a standing monthly meeting in a working group with with representatives from our town and our consultants and DEP. That's how we got to some of this progress we made at the golf course as an alternative. However, I think the RAC committee the RAC and the town have made it very clear to DEP that we're not happy about the size of that permit, and the state has basically indicated we'll need some proof once we start flushing toilets and moving water into the system. So I guess the answer is, Ken, nothing is going to change until the plant comes online, and there's at least, I'm going to say, and I can defer to Jeff Colby, probably 1 to 4 years worth of data.
I mean, my concern, and you touched on it, just to finish up on this, is I think Bayberry's a great alternative, but we didn't plan on spending that money. And it's not going to be free getting water from Buck Island to Bayberry and having to go into the ground.
I hear you 100%, and that is the unfortunate conversation that has to be had in early spring of 2026 to the town and the voters is the state of Massachusetts has decided something, and we now have an unfunded mandate outside of the $207 million. And the question is, what are we going to do about it? Because we need to start flushing toilets into this system in early 2028.
And what's the plan if the town says, no, thanks, not spending any more money at town meeting to do that?
That is a fantastic question, and I don't know the answer, but it is my job as your representative and as you used to.
I'm not trying to put you on the hot seat. I'm just trying to lay out all the facts.
But I'm saying this is the beauty of us as a planning board, is that we are fanned out across the town, hearing things and learning things, hopefully well in advance, so that we can be a little bit of a filter and a little bit of a canary in the coal mine in some cases, to say these trains are coming at us. And not to mention the fact we have a library project that we're going to have to make a decision about. We have a potential, and I do stress the word potential, school project that we have to talk about. We have a fire department, fire station we have to talk about. And none of that has anything to do with the $207 million that we already have talked about. So now I'm going to throw in this planning at the golf course, which will be many millions.
Right.
So I apologize, but the good news is we're hearing about this in advance, and at least the 6 of us and Kathy and Mark Grills are now aware of it.
No need to apologize. I think maybe all of us at some point should attend a RAC meeting and grill them a little bit more too. So.
Well, I will say, and as you probably, and Ken, you certainly know, there are representatives from the Finance Committee, from the Conservation Commission, from myself, as well as some very other, as well as many other intelligent people who care a lot about the town. And I can assure you that we're all asking lots of questions, and it certainly wouldn't hurt if more people would interact with us and ask those questions. I mean, to me, we got to finish phase 1, and I'm very concerned about the fact that we can't resolve this contract 6, because that is going to slow us down. There's just no other way to look at it. In addition to the other stuff we've already discussed with the golf course.
Good point.
So
appreciate your efforts, Will, and the whole RAC committee is doing an amazing job.
Well, thank you for saying that. I'm really glad I've been involved, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity, and I hope I get to continue on this path, because the phase 2 conversations also is where I think the public is going to start to hear from us, and we encourage the public to start coming to talk to us, probably starting in the middle to late fall, because again, where the maps are drawn for phases 2 through 8 is not necessarily where those phases are going to be. And that's not because anybody's doing anything untoward. It's because we still have to manage the watershed implications, not to mention the other implications in terms of future projects in the town.
Thank you. Will.
That was quite a lengthy update, Madam Chair, but we only meet once a month, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to share.
Thank you very much, Will. Susan, did you have a question?
No.
Oh, okay. I did skip over Muck. Sorry, Kathy, on the agenda. Skipped right over it. Didn't know if you had something. I apologize. My clerk reminded me about Muck.
They're having a meeting on Monday at 6 p.m., August 11th, in conference room. where the consultant is going to be presenting the summary of the outcome of the workshop meeting that was held. We also have a report from Catalyst, the architect, on some additional work that they did on the assessment of the building, identifying some different options and what costs might be in addition to just getting the building up to a certain standard, which was at 41 million, but what would it be if you wanted to turn it into like a municipal center or a bunch of offices, and what would it cost if you wanted to start incorporating housing, trying to lead towards more of and what it would cost to do the gym and the auditorium compared to new, to try and get an idea of whether, make some types of decisions with regard to whether this building should be incorporated, or portions of it incorporated, or whether we should be looking at
Just take it down.
just taking it down. I think the survey results was, it was like 78% said either tear it all down or most of it down, and maybe, I think what people were really interested was keeping the gym, was the idea of the gym. They wanted that indoor recreation space, and they see how wonderful it's being used by the rec department, and didn't want to lose that. So could that be better served at a nice new facility, or X amount of millions of dollars to upgrade it and keep what we have there? So those are the kinds of the things they're going to be discussing. And also, the consultant has also looked at all the information from the land use groups, all that information from the workshop, and they're starting to do some basic bubble diagrams or elemental diagrams, like this blocks of this is where some housing of this density might be able to go, and kind of starting to look at these 3 different conceptual ideas, concept plans that they would be then fleshing out. These are just very, very preliminary ideas that they would be talking about on Monday, but the whole idea is to give them some input and some guidance so that they can continue working up some of the conceptual plans.
What time is the meeting on Monday again, Kath?
6 p.m. in Conference Room A. It's remote as well, so.
Yeah, it'll have to be with such a small room.
Actually, at this point, where there hasn't been there's been very few people coming from the public. But I think we're now starting to get into the development of these ideas, and there's obviously going to be a lot of other public inputs. There's going to be additional select board updates. Then there's also going to be an actual public forum to talk about the concepts before they kind of move forward to presenting the final ones to the select board,
Okay.
I think by the end of the year.
Any other staff updates, Kath, from your?
Do you have a CEDC sort of update or anything? No? All right.
Are you still the only member?
There's one other.
There's two
There's 2.
There's 2.
seats.
There's
Have to get a
2.
quorum with 2.
That's right. It's a great meeting schedule. It's right up my alley. That's perfect.
Madam Chair, could I ask Kathy one follow-up question?
You may.
Thank you. Has there been any update on the town's app/mobile optimization of the town's website?
I haven't asked. I'm sorry. I
It's
do know
okay.
that, I do know that they are working on the website, and I think they would asked if you guys had any specific comments, and I know that, Peter, you had some comments. If you can send them directly to Paul Chaffee, who's the IT director, they'll try and see what they can do to incorporate that in. And they're also working on having a projects page. So you can kind of go to a project, there'll be a short little blurb on it, and then there'll be a link to the web page. So, the library building committee, the Matakees utilization, even like the Parkers River Landing, our LCB, all of those things will be, so people will know, these are the great things that are going on in town.
Right in
and then-
sight.
And then, in order to get more information. I did hand out a lot of the cards last night that show all the different ways you can stay informed, and people seemed really, okay, Instagram. And so they were, people were excited that there's a lot of different ways to get access. But yeah, the app would be good. I can check on that, Will.
Thank you, Kathy.
Okay, just to look ahead, we have, Kath, did you want to say anything more about your police night out last night? I know you.
No, it was great.
Yeah.
I had done up a flyer for the Matakees. We have the flyer for the LCP, and then we Judy from the library building committee had her flyer, so we tag teamed everybody and said, do you know
good.
about the planning projects that are going on in the town of Yarmouth? And they were like very interested. So people actually stopped. They took all our flyers.
Was it
They
well
had-
was it well attended?
It was pretty well attended. I think it was a little bit more than last year. Last year it was weird because it was on the Saturday.
Right.
They had to delay it, but Yeah, it's a nice younger demographic, a lot of people with kids, so they were very interested, obviously, in the library and the new library, so it was a good synergy, good, lot of energy.
Great. Again, Kathy and I will be presenting on August 12th to the Select Board, and I would encourage any members of the board who can attend and join us. That would be great next week. Our next meeting is the 20th, and I'm guessing that we'll probably have the amendments on that agenda. Anything coming up? And some of the, you had mentioned maybe a recap of whatever comments have come in on the LCP at that point.
Right, and what we heard from the
Yeah,
select board.
okay, great. So I don't have anything else unless members have anything else? Okay, so may I have a motion to adjourn? And I need to do it roll call because of hybrid, I think, right?
I move that we adjourn,
Thank you,
the meeting adjourned.
thank you.
I'll second it.
Great. Susan Britta,
Aye.
Deirdre Gayquin.
Aye.
Will Rubenstein,
Aye.
Peter Slovak,
Aye.
Ken Smith,
Aye.
Joanne Crowley, aye. Thank you all.